Hello, 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 hello. Hi, everybody. I'm just in the process of editing some stuff and writing and doing the thing that I do. Um, and I figured I'd just jump on while I had a few quiet minutes here in the house to give people a little bit of an update on some stuff and ask a couple of questions and just say hi. See if anybody wanted to ask any questions of me. I forget what my agenda was, but if you're watching this later on, you can drop a comment here, and I'll get the notification that you said something after the fact. But updates. These came in. Shoop. I don't know if you can see, but they're the Mr. Journals, Auburn Lake Preparatory Academy embossed journals. So these are swag that's coming in for the Kickstarter, and it's just a cool little notebook embossed with the logo of the school. And those are going to everybody who backed at $200 or more, and then anybody who added it on for $12. So if you're getting one of these, here's what they look like. They're pretty nice. I think they're 90 pages, 100 pages, something like that. And I posted a picture of these before, but here's the 16 by 20 poster. Oh, my daughter painted my fingernails. They're luminescent. So we've got these 16 by 20 posters, and I didn't think 16 by 20 was going to be that big, but here we are. It's pretty friggin' big. So these as well were available as add-ons in the Kickstarter, and because we funded at such a high number, I was able to take advantage of buying a pretty large chunk of them. So I was able to get the price down a little bit and also just kind of warehouse some. So once everybody in the Kickstarter who ordered one gets all theirs and everybody's happy with it, I'll be able to put them up for anyone to buy, like on my website or, through Facebook or Twitter, or wherever you find me, YouTube. So yeah, that's the hardcover swag update. The challenge coins haven't arrived yet. They're nickel and gold, really nice. They're slated to ship something like the 15th or the 16th, and it's like 4 or 5 days shipping. So I should have them, probably around the 20th or so, 25th. And the books themselves, I've got, I'm almost done with book 8 in terms of editing and formatting. I just have maybe 30 pages left, which is not that much. Books 1 through 4 are completely all set, minus the credits of the names going into book 1. Books 5 and 6 are done editing. 5, 6, and 7 are done editing and formatting. 5 and 6 have cover art now, and then 7 and 8. 7 is in process for cover art, and 8 will be done shortly, and we'll have the cover art for that. So once I have all that and the funding money actually shows up, which is like the 14th or the 15th, I can actually just start ordering the books from the printer and then collecting everything and packaging and stuff up. So if you back the Kickstarter, I promised stuff in October, but many of you will actually get your stuff in August, which is pretty badass. And what else did I want to talk about? Kickstarter, I'm drawing a blank now. Bad Wabbit. Some of you may have noticed my shirt. Bad Wabbit. I just got this from my boy Anthony Castro. Not sure if you're watching, Anthony. I didn't tag you in the video. No one can tell I'm talking when I hold it up like this. But Bad Wabbit is his character that he is doing a comic book on, and I gave him a bit of assistance on the editing process of it. Helped him kind of like, fix some plot bunnies and rewrite the stuff. Hey, Tina. So I have a cover credit on it as an editor, and I'm helping him kind of, every step of the way get there. And he's going to be launching a Kickstarter to fund the comic book. So he sent me a shirt. And when the comic Kickstarter goes live, I'll be sharing it too, because, he's an indie creator. He's a good dude, and it would be really nice to have the book fund and say that I officially got a comic book released and in circulation finally. Hey, Sean. Hey, Tina. If you guys have questions, just fire them away. So yeah, I'll be posting the link to that. And the comic book's going to be about $20 because he's, not printing a ton of them. So the cost per is pretty high. And, he's signing it or I'm signing it or both of us are signing it. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work out. I know at least he is signing it. And then I'll be getting a bunch as well. So yeah, that's cool. I also started working on, thanks, Anthony. Fits good, by the way. I also started working on the old Rock Jockeys project again that I was doing with artist Jason DeBee. His schedule kind of realigned and he wound up getting some spare time and he's been very excited about returning to it. And I've been excited about it in the first place. So he and I have kind of circled back around on that. And we're pivoting from a 10-page sort of ash can comic book to more like a 30, maybe 36-page trade, something in that area. Well, when you know more. He's got about 10 pages of the comic book that he can work on now, and then I've just got to write the last 20 pages or so, and then we're in business, which is really not that much work on my end, relatively speaking, compared to writing a novel. Tina, how far in advance have you gone into AUD? What is released is what is written. I have outlines for the next book, kind of ready to go, and I know what's going to happen in it, but anytime I do an outline, I leave myself plenty of room, like an accordion, right? Like I know the steps, the big things, but sometimes getting from, plot point A to plot point B actually involves, A1, A2, and A3, as opposed to just A straight to B. So right now it looks like there's going to be probably just one more AUD book, possibly two, probably one. But we'll see. I won't know until I start writing it. Hi, Amy. So Rock Jockeys is months and months and months away. It takes Jason quite a while to illustrate, and he's still doing some concept art for how we're going to kind of revamp some ideas that we had. So we moved everything around down here. We're in a much smaller house than we used to be. And right now, my workspace is in the basement and it's, unfinished. And hopefully we're only here for another year and the market can kind of come down. But we pivoted. I was, over here in this direction for the first 9 months that we were here. So you were seeing me, with the camera either pointed at some shelves or pointed out into the expanse of our shelving that we've got stuff stored on. So we just kind of moved everything around. We're not sharing the same desk anymore, which means we have a little bit more room to breathe. But this is going to be my new backdrop. I've got my convention banner here, and then you can see over here. Whoop, this is my compressor that I make dice using. My pressure pot's actually just over on the counter there. And then, comic book stuff, Lego stuff, whatever. So it may look a little bit different, but it's still the same me, still in the same dungeon. Tina, let's make it 2. I can't promise anything. I really can't. If it winds up being 2 and they wind up being good, sure, I'll do 2. But I don't want to stretch the story out needlessly, I'm not going to write 2 bad books. I'd rather write 1 good one. I don't want people to think that I'm like, milking it or stretching it out just to cash in or whatever. But definitely 1, possibly 2. What else? Oh, so I was thinking the other day about how I have been doing a lot more lives. And part of the reason for that is social media monetization, frankly. It has it has become easier for me to just roll camera like this and just bullshit with people live. And rather than sit here and write out a 5-minute long post 3 or 4 times a day. And now the kids are on vacation, so it's even harder for me to find time during the day to post stuff. But doing these live videos and broadcasting them to YouTube and to my profile and my page here, Facebook has now turned on my monetization. So now just for like watching and stuff, I get like a couple pennies. So I figure let's keep it up. Pennies add up. But I also don't want to just do these lives in BS. Like if I'm going to do lives on camera, how can I add value and make it more fun and more entertaining? And some people have mentioned and suggested that I should do like a how I got to where I am story, which I think is a great idea. And I'll definitely start doing that once we get into a rhythm with the summer here with the kids home. And, I'll post like a series of videos, 10, 15 minutes each, probably, one a week or whatever. And basically just, tell people how my writing career got to where it is, a little bit about my life and how I picked up the skills and stories that, got me to, where I am today as a writer. I think that's cool. That I'll definitely do that. But I was thinking I had, Anthony on Castro, the guy that, I'm working on Bad Wabbit with. And, we talked about the comic book while I was just working on dice. And it's not the first time I've done that where I've had someone live, BSing with me while I was working on dice, because it's like a great time for me to do both. And on Tuesday nights, I do my D&D session, which my DM is now streaming to Twitch and to YouTube. And when I'm playing that, I'm also working on dice. More so lately because of the Kickstarter, the volume of dice that I have to work on is pretty substantial. I forget how many were ordered, but it's a lot. But I was thinking like it would be kind of fun if I, did these lives every once in a while I was working on dice and just had like a casual chat with certain people. That way people can kind of jump on and we can talk and catch up and BS and whatnot. And what I was asking is, are there people that y'all can think of in the writing world that, I might have a connection to that I could invite on to share a screen with while I do this? I have a list of, people that I'm close enough with that, if I asked them if it would work for them, they would say, yeah. Like I could get Tufo to come on. I could probably get David Moody to come on, people like that. But yeah, if there's anybody that you think that would want to jump on with me to bullshit for an hour or two, comment, tag them if you can. That way they can watch the video and, get a feel for whether or not they feel like sitting like this talking to me for half an hour. Yeah, so I just thought it might be a fun thing to do. Also, if any of you have other suggestions for stuff that I can do on video that would be entertaining for you, let me know. I'm all ears. I'm flexible, relatively speaking. Not like doing a split flexible, but like I'm willing to pivot and adjust my ideas accordingly. But I think that was it. I think that was all the updates that I had. So, tag people if you think they would want to sit with me for half an hour. I can start making a list. I'd probably do one of these every other week or something like that. Beginner D&D sessions. I could do something like that. Lundy, yep. Those are all people I'm connected with on some level. I think I did a live with him like 3 years ago. It was during the pandemic, but it was a bunch of other people. It wasn't just he and I. Yeah. So, if there's any ideas you have, any things you'd like to see me talk about, or if these, kind of live Q&As are interesting enough, or, me sitting here just spewing my stream of consciousness is entertaining enough for you, say so. Just let me know. I don't want to, I'm not taking up anyone's time. You can tune out anytime you want, but if you are going to tune in, I want to make sure that it's at least a little bit entertaining. And I'm not good enough to do OnlyFans, so here we are. So again, you got the Mr. Journals are in. Get the shine. Yeah, Auburn Lake. Here we go. Auburn Lake Preparatory Academy, and that's the logo. Pretty cool. And then, in case you haven't seen them, the posters. Swoop. You can see they're big. Like, that's a big poster. That is not a small poster. It's not quite the size poster that you'd get at Spencer's back in the 90s, but we can't all have those things. And then for other swag, we got the bookmarks, and on the back side there's Halligan's and banana boxes. Ebo, I missed at the start. Did you say you're doing one more book for AUD, or do you have one more book ready to go? No, I'm going to do at least one more book for AUD, possibly two. I do not have it ready to go. I haven't even started actually writing it yet. But yeah, here we are. And then where'd the stickers go? My chaos drawer here. Got some Diggory coins here. Anyway, the Mr. Journal stickers are really cool. They're round. They're neat. They got a computer on it. No, not Tier 1 dice stickers. I got those too. Oh yeah, speaking of dice stuff, I did a quick inventory of my Tier 1 dice bags. I have custom-made dice bags that have that logo on them, and I got those made for the Diggory Kickstarter way back when, and they're cool. I got my little book logo that's on all my dice, and I had to reorder them. I counted, I only had 20, and I think I need like 50 or 60 for the Kickstarter. So I ordered another 100, and I ordered them full color instead of just black and white. So the new batch coming in are going to be a little bit cooler. Carl, if the time of day works, time difference, happily sit and bullshit with you on time. Yeah, Carl, you'd be right at the top of the list too. Nathan, is there a real life Otis? There was. When I first started writing AUD, I had a cat. His name was Brady, and Brady is Otis. And I knew I didn't want dogs because I didn't want to have to deal with the idea of dogs barking. And I thought it would be fun to have Adrian have this ambivalent relationship with dogs. I thought it would be kind of different because, a lot of people are like, oh, I love dogs. Dogs are awesome. And a lot of people are like, fuck cats. And I just wanted to spin that. And I love dogs. I've owned many dogs in my lifetime. So I am not a dog hater. I just thought it would be fun to have Adrian do that. And is AUD coming to an end? Yes, it is. But I ended it once before. So this ending is perhaps an ending or perhaps a pause. Ebo, looking forward to it. Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't want it to end either. The reality is there's only so much of this story that I can be excited to write. And if the story and the plot line aren't exciting and compelling for me, and I'm doing, kind of new things and expanding stuff, it's hard to write. It becomes really, really difficult to write. And then it's no fun. And the books aren't as good when I'm struggling. Hands down, the books that people are like, yeah, it's not that good, or it's not my favorite. Those are the ones that were hard for me to write because they just weren't as interesting or whatever. And, I don't want to jump the shark too much. AUD has already grown considerably more fantastic and fantasy and occult-ish over the series. And if I keep going, the only way to really push the envelope is to make it even more so like that. And I don't want to ruin it. You did not know there was an Otis today. Yeah. Firmage. Also, yeah, that's just because he actually had a point. Yeah. Thank you. I love dogs, but they bark, and I wanted that to be a part of the story. Like, one of the things that I wanted to have show up in AUD that never made its head rear up, I don't think, was snoring. Because I thought it would be awesome to have some kind of a character join a group at some point in time where they had to be really, really quiet, but they snored at night. And that would draw in the dead, because those are things that you can't control. You can't not snore if you're a snorer, if you have apnea or whatever. And I thought it would be fun to have a character bring that element in, but I don't think it ever made it in. I don't remember writing it. So yeah, this is actually live, Mike. You are a Womble no matter what. Tina, have you ever wished you had changed something in a book after the fact? Almost every book I write, I wish I could go back and change at least something. But that's the nature of saying enough is enough and releasing it. If I sit here, debating every potential improvement on a book, I would never release a book. I'm editing the series again right now for the 4th or 5th time, AUD, for this author's preferred hardcover edition. And there are so many things that I am changing. Not, dramatic changes, but the way sentences flow, the way paragraphs flow, the way certain things kind of panned out, or why people thought certain things, like improvements to the story to make the story tighter, more concise, to make it flow a little bit better. I'm adding in scenes that got cut out that explain some stuff. I'm pulling a couple of sentences here and there that are like really redundant. With the journal format, one of the things that I tried to do when I went from the blog to the books was there's the timing of posting online. Like AUD was written and posted online in real time. The date that's on the entry was the date that entry went live online. So you were with him on the day, on the minute, on the hour that he was writing. And the problem with that is there's like a 3-day gap between when I posted to when I post again. People need an update, right? Just like, when you're watching a TV show weekly and it's like on last week's episode of, he has a lot of that built in. So when I originally went to it, I pulled like 70% of it to make it flow better in a book, because if every 3 pages you're reading what happened the prior 3 pages before, there's a lot of dead space, and B, it's just boring. So I pulled the vast majority of it, but I'm going through again and I'm pulling like 50% of that, what's left over, because it just doesn't flow like I really want it to. So yeah, there's always changes, Tina, that I'm making. What about a side fic of a survivor with Tourette's? I would do that and then immediately be sued by the Tourette's Foundation. Nathan, do you regret any decisions you made in AUD or any characters you killed off? I don't think so. I don't. I mean, everybody that dies for a reason. There are deaths that I wished I had done differently. There are some people who kind of died off screen, that I didn't have their death show up in direct narrative because it would have taken up a lot of space. And I really wish I could have found a way to do that more effectively without making the book needlessly long. So like, for everyone who hasn't listened to The Last Resort, earmuffs. So in The Last Resort, when Adrian is fighting the Northern Valley Cooperative, a lot of people get killed. And there are 3 specific deaths that happen during their exchange that happen off screen, and they're major characters in the book. And part of that is like what they just did with Succession, where like sometimes death just happens and you find out about it, right? Like you don't get the story all the time. You don't get the closure. You don't find out the details. They're just dead and you get a phone call, or they're just dead and someone tells you. And I wanted an element of that, but also it would have been really cool to have those scenes on page. So I regret that. Anthony, great. Now I can't use snoring in my fan fiction. Nah, do it. Do it up. That's awesome. Yeah, the very is the bane of my existence. I write very so much. The good thing is when I write it and then I go back and I see very, that like when I read very, it triggers my mind to be like, okay, what's a different word I can use here? So I'm not just saying very 6 times in a paragraph. Yeah, Ollie. Yep. Yep. Yeah, Carl hit the nail right in the head. It's hard to do those deaths when you're primarily a first-person narrative and you can't choke the book with side fictions. Yeah, so one of the problems with the side fiction format that I use is that, like, if I don't put enough, then it's just Adrian's point of view and you guys don't get the big world view that kind of gives this story, it's sort of, fingerprint, its uniqueness. And if I put too many in, then you get the George R.R. Martin experience where your favorite character only shows up every 8 or 9 chapters, which is why I didn't finish reading the Game of Thrones series. Because it like the Song of Fire and Ice, Ice and Fire, whatever. Because like, all right, what's Jon Snow up to? And you're literally like 40 or 50 pages before you get 10 about Jon Snow. And you're like, well, these other 2 characters here, they're new. I don't like them. I don't need to see 20 pages in their point of view. And, that's a style he went with. And very clearly his bank account shows that his books are successful. But like, if I put too many side fictions in to show that kind of stuff, the book bogs down big time. Which is another reason why the Tales series exists, because I can go back and write those scenes and give people that, like, that snapshot, that point of view, that picture. And then they can read it and get that satisfaction without me having to clog up the novel, which gives me the idea of maybe I should do a Tales novella that's just like deaths, where like the people who died off screen get their closure. That might be fun. Anywho, I want to put that on my pile of shit to do. Side fics are precious, and they must have maximum impact. They can't just be filler, unless it's filler that develops a character. Like there are many that are in the original series that exist only to develop some characters. Yes, shit went dark. Whose deaths are in Tales? In Tales is the independent series of novellas and anthologies that run parallel to the core AUD series. So there's 7 of those. There's 3 anthologies of short stories and then 4 novellas. And they are their own independent stories that flesh out the stuff. So for example, some people wrote fan fiction that was so good it was like canon. So a lady named Sherry wrote a story about what happened at Amy's daycare. And she wrote the story and posted it to the original website, and I read it and was like, shit, that's like almost exactly what I was going to have go down, like plus or minus a couple details. So when I started to release the Tales books, I compiled up a bunch of those really good fan fictions and brought in some authors that I was friends with and had them kind of play around in my story. But the Tales books flesh out the first one's London Burns, where you find out what happens to the Royal Marines after the helicopter crashes and they separate, and how they make it to Buckingham Palace, like literally the street battle with the zombies. That's London Burns. And then 3 is Only the Light We Make, which is more short stories. 4 is The Shed, where you find out the messed up shed that Adrian encounters with the corpses in it. You find out how that happened. And then 5 is An Ill Wind, which is the story of a father and his daughter who go for a hot air balloon ride on that day. And somebody on the hot air balloon was bitten and didn't think it was a big deal. And they wind up turning, and they're like drifting in this hot air balloon with a zombie, and they can't land because the pandemic, the epidemic, the plague, whatever, is spreading below them. So it's kind of a fun story. That's 5. 6 is The Other Side, which chronicles Adrian and Gilbert's shenanigans while Adrian's in a coma. And it also talks about some of Gilbert's Vietnam era stuff, which is really fun. That was fun to write because it isn't AUD at all. It's just like Vietnam era combat. And, having not written anything like that, that was a pretty fun exercise. And then 7 is Dead Lucky, which is another anthology of shorts set in the AUD world. And some of the short stories that I wrote flesh out stories in those books. So like the zombie that's caught in the swing, we find out where he showed up. Steve, what happened to Steve after the end of the world, Adrian's best friend, he gets a couple of short stories. Thank you, Wanda. The beard does look pretty good, right? I decided to grow out the cheeks. I was only doing like the kind of chin strap and then this thing, but I was like, you know what? I saw some pictures of myself with the full side, and I was like, I look pretty good like that. I'm gonna go back to it. So Anthony, when you wrote side stories in AUD like McGreevy, Down at the Gun Store, did you have those stories already thought out, or did you go back and write them in? So, true story, fun story about it was my buddy Joe and I decided to post the stories to the website because he wanted me to like get it in front of people, and I thought it would be kind of fun to see what would happen with it. And we were pretty much on the entry date written when Phil's story shows up. Phil's story is the first side fiction written. It's the first one that appears in the story. And I had written like 4 or 5 entries ahead based on what was live. I had like a burst of writing time and inspiration, and I had like a week or 2 banked where I didn't have to write to stay caught up to the dates as they released. And I sat there and was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could somehow figure out a way to like tell the story of what happened to people? And at the time, people were like, man, Phil to the rescue. Phil had like traction in the forums on my website. And I was like, you know what? I want to write the story of what happened to Phil. So I just sat down one night when I didn't have entries to write, and I just busted out the whole thing, the whole Phil story. And I'm pretty sure I went to the forums and was like, hey, does anybody want to read this? And everyone was like, yeah, of course. And I just dropped it on the website in chronological order, exactly where it lands in the novels. And people loved it. they like, dude, this is awesome. You should do more of these. And I was like, all right, cool. That's cool. And I came up with the idea for McGreevy's Report, which I think is the second. And then the third is, I think, Soccer Mom, and so on and so on. So it became this like awesome narrative tool where I could like slow down the pace. I could foreshadow, like with Gasoline, where we meet Walt Mayorga and you find out that he's like rigging his house with bombs and stuff. And then at that time that Adrian is clearing his street and he's eventually going to get to the house that Walt is rigging with bombs. So like every entry, everyone's like, shit, when is he going to get to this house? And then he gets to the house and y'all know what happens. So they were all written pretty much in the order that they showed up, with a couple of exceptions. I went back when I went from web to print and rewrote two side fictions that got inserted in the latter books. There was White Blood Cell and The Bombs Fell, which is more Lancaster stories, because Lancaster shows up with Kevin kind of like as his ear, his voice on the other end of a phone while they're trying to figure it out. And he was such a cool character and fun that I thought it would be really neat to build him up that way at the end of book 8, if I ever continued with book 9 and beyond, which I did. Lancaster had a presence in book 8. That way he'd be kind of fresh. So those were written after the fact and then inserted. Where are Steve's short stories? Good question. Let me look. Let me open my files here. Anthology files. Volume 2. The big one is Steve Goes to the City, which is Dead Lucky. I don't actually remember. Print interior. I'm pretty sure it shows up in my short story collection, Resurrections. Pretty sure. Home Guard. Big Rubber Dicks. Nope. Not that one. The Last Bite. Nope. The Home Guard. Nope. So it probably is in Resurrections. Sorry, just looking at my files, everybody. Allison, Cia Spears, the dog. Yep, Steve Goes to the City, where you find out what happens to Steve, and that's in Resurrections, my short story collection. So it hasn't actually showed up in the Tales books yet, but there you go, Resurrections. Look it up. Carl enjoys writing the side fics in Locky. They break up the journal entries. Yeah, they do. They totally let you flex different muscles. I love being able to show things and like tease people. Golden Palace remains a classic. Cluck. Yeah, Lancaster. Do you have to read the Tales books in order? As long as you've read the core 8 novels, I don't think the Tales books need to be read in any particular order. They're independent chronologically from one another. So like the 7th Tales book has stuff that appears at the beginning of the AUD storyline. And then it also has stuff that appears at the end. It like just fills in the stories. So no, you don't have to read them chronologically. Lancaster getting some love. Yeah, White Blood Cell was... I was really happy with that story title. I was like, what am I going to call this? What am I going to call this? And then I got to the line where it was like, he talks about how he considers himself the white blood cell that removes problems. It's like, perfect. He's a white blood cell. Done. Shut the door. It's named. Would you do a book with Lancaster joking up with Maple and Oak coming to Bastion? That has legs. I could definitely do that. Maple and Oak are 2 characters that I wish I had expanded on. Like those 2 guys could have been way more significant. And I played it as them being like these mysterious, like semi-covert ops, spec ops kind of guys that just don't talk and just do their job, and they're just kind of like extensions of Lancaster's will. I'm not sure that was right, so maybe I regret that. Crap, you're late, Ryan. You're late. Did you take a test? Are you sure? Is everything okay? Anywho, that's that for that. But yeah, so one more, maybe two more, and then more than likely interspersed throughout time, I'll do some more of the Tales books, because the novellas are pretty quick to punch out. Like I can bust one out in like 2-3 weeks, and after I'm done with AUD as a whole, it'll be much easier for me to just like pause work on other stuff, bust out a novella, and then release that. Those are fun, really fun. So where can you find a reading list for the whole series, including shorts and everything? I posted a graphic, Nikki. I don't know if I can I comment here? Can I reply to that? Let me see. Locations. There's a graphic that I can post. Can I do that? I can edit layout, new layout, leave studio settings, present. I can if I make a slideshow, but that'll take me like 10 minutes. Banners. Click on a banner, create a banner. Anyway, there is a reading list. There's a graphic I can post, and it basically just lays out the order of how things are best consumed. And Ryan, credit where credit's due. You're the one who messaged me and pushed and advocated for getting the journals done. So they are cool. Ta-da! 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 Auburn Lake. So I imagine Auburn Lake students would get one of those on their first day during their orientation, their school swag, to get their parents to send them there. I'll post it in the group. It's there already. If you go in and search for like reading order, Nikki, if you just go into the Ring Family group and search reading order, you'll probably get the graphic. It needs to be updated because it doesn't have the lost and the found on it, but you'll get there. Your nails match the journal, right? Juniper did these this morning. She was very excited. Very important that I have painted fingernails now for her. So here I am, Dad getting his nails painted. But yeah, that's where we're at. So I'll say it again. If anyone has any ideas for people that they want me to have on these live chats, just tag them in the comments here, or shoot them a message, whatever, and see if they're interested. And they're free to just write me, message me, and then I'll be reaching out. And then I think I'll be able to do one every couple weeks. Really depends on their schedule. Some of my writer buddies work full time, and I can get them during the day to do these. And then some of them, have 9 to 5s, and I would only be able to do it during the evenings or on the weekends. And obviously we have a pretty full calendar with the kids and with summer right now. So, but anyway, it'd be cool to do it every couple weeks, every 3 weeks, have somebody on and just BS. Yeah, it's nice. Looks good. Ta-da! Wabbit's such a fun curmudgeon-y character with a heart of gold. Not really. He's kind of a mean bitch, but he's coming around. And if anybody wants bad Wabbit swag, DMW, Anthony's company, Dead Man Walking. He has Dead Man Walking tees, and then he has Dead Man Walking comics. And then if you back the comic book, one of the levels you can get with a shirt. And I think you can just do add-ons for shirts too. I think that's how we set it up. So you can just grab them there. What's Adrian's computer password? Otis. In the book, Adrian's computer's password is Otis is my homeboy. And that's how they know. Because as he's going down, he whispers it to Abby. And Mallory works with Abby and figures it out. So what's funny though is after I posted that, everyone's like, "Is that the password you use for everything?" Like, no, I'm not a fucking idiot. I'm not going to post my password and write my actual password in a book. Passwords I use are complete bullshit nonsense. So don't try to guess. It's not related to anything that exists in the real world that anybody knows about. I are smart. Like, my passwords are weird stuff like turkey in the dryer, star, hashtag 69, you know, complete random bullshit. Have you based your characters off of anyone in your life? Yeah, Nathan. Many of the characters that have shown up in books are in some way based on many people. Uh, Gilbert is more or less my dad. Adrian is more or less me. Um, what else? Kate, the pilot, is a coworker that I was working with at the time. Um, John and Dorothy were based on two friends of mine at the time. Cassie is loosely based on my ex at the time. Um, Inspired by who else? The guy who gets shot in the ass. That's a true story based on somebody. Who else? A bunch of other people. Yellow crayons do taste the best. I hear the purple ones are pretty clutch. With AUD coming to a close, is there anything percolating in the background I'm excited about? Yes, I perpetually have like 20 ideas that I'm excited about. The issue is time. I don't have enough time to develop all my ideas. I have two little kids at home, uh, and bringing them back and forth to school, and basically like having to care for them when they're sick and stuff like that eats into my time. I'm so happy that I get to do that. I'm so happy that I have a job where I can, if the school calls, I can just walk away, right? Like I can save my file and go get the kids and take care of them for the rest of the day. That's amazing. But it does mean that I get disrupted. So for example, in the month of end of May, early June, the eldest came down with strep. The next day, the youngest came down with strep. So it was urgent care the first day, urgent care the second day. They both got on antibiotics. They finished them in 10 days. On day 11, the first one came down with strep again. My wife came down with strep. And then the second kid came down with strep again, back to back. So they've been on antibiotics for, it's been over for a couple days, but we were basically taking antibiotics for 20 days. And I didn't get it. And I'm not a carrier. I got tested to make sure that I wasn't, giving it back and forth to them. But during that period of time, I had to take care of the whole family, and it's like, all right, well, I'm going to go work, and then I get 20 minutes in and then have to take care of somebody, and whatever. So are there any projects that I'm excited about? Ryan, before you showed up, I mentioned that Rock Jockeys has kind of gotten some life again, the comic book I was working on. So I will be adjusting the original script for the comic that I had been working on, making it a little bit longer, adding some more content and building out the universe more, some more lore. Really excited about that. I love comic books. Having some comic books out is like a life goal of mine. Like it's something that I really want to make happen. So really excited about that. And I also have a new post-apocalyptic series in development. And I have the premise, I have the characters largely set up, I have the plot loosely organized, and it's really weird and it's really cool. It's not zombies, but it is apocalyptic. And yeah, I'm excited for that one. Was the redhead in the black sedan Steve and the mechanic? To learn that answer, you should read Resurrections, my short story collection that has Steve Goes to the City. The superhero one that I posted on Patreon, Mike, the superhero comic story. I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. That one is not Rock Jockeys. That one was the one that I was developing for Latchkey Comics, which is the comic book company that we put together. False Bravado was that one, where it's a hero that doesn't want to be heroes. He doesn't want to be a hero for reasons. And that was a cool story. It was a great story. My buddy Jason Casey came up with the idea for the character, and he and I fleshed out the story, and I wrote it. And then he wasn't able to illustrate it the way he wanted to see it. So we hired an artist, they fell through. We hired another artist, they fell through. And then it just kind of lost steam. He moved, and we haven't really sourced out an artist to finish it. Although I have some leads on a couple of other people that I think I could hire to do it, but that's expensive. Like paying someone to make a comic book is, $100-$200 a page. So, a 20-page comic book costs minimum $2,000 to put out. And that's expensive. So I do need a nanny. I do. To be fair, I wouldn't want one. Like, I wouldn't want to have a nanny. Like, I wouldn't want to give my kids to someone else and be like, you raise them. I'm going to go write books. Like, I want to be there as much as I can. Like, I complain about not having enough time, but the reality is I love that I get to be there for them. So False Bravado is done. My portion of it is, at least the whole script for that is done. And I started book 2. I'm like halfway through book 2. And I think we were planning like a 4-issue miniseries of comics. But once it became apparent that we were having troubles finding artists and inkers and letterers and building a team that was reliable, I just stopped. Because I'd already sunk a month into writing a comic. It's a cool story. And now that I've built some more connections in the comic art world, I think I have some people that I could bring on board, and I got to circle back around with him. And he and I haven't talked in a while about it, and basically just see like, hey, do you still want to do this? Because it's a good story, and it would be nice to put it out. And of course, we could share the burden of launching it, and then do a Kickstarter again to get it going. The issue is like, I don't want to have Kickstarter fatigue, right? So, I've done 2 Kickstarters for the 2 Diggory books, which was awesome. The first one I did as an experiment. The second one I did because people asked for it. The people who backed the first book said, please do another so we can get the stuff just like we did on book 1. And then with the hardcover project, it was such an enormously expensive relaunch that I knew I wanted to do it. It's been kind of developing for, a couple of years low key. And then finally it was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to scrape up all of this extra money to relaunch these books. So I said, let's see what happens with Kickstarter. And, if I get the money, great. If I don't, well, I'll just do it slowly. And people showed up. So would it only work as a comic? False Bravado was written as a comic with the idea that, because the original character, in the book, he was invented by an artist, and Jason's vision for the story is a comic. I don't own that character. It's his character. I own the story. So he and I like share ownership of the False Bravado property. And if I were to say, hey, I'm going to write a novel, he would have claim to half of the value of it. And I don't want to write a book for half pay, right? So not going to write a novel. But if we return back to the project and see if he's willing to kind of do the comic book thing, I would be happy to do it. And also, like I was saying, the Kickstarter fatigue thing, people showed up big time for the hardcover project last month. It is not my IP. It's partially my IP. People showed up big time for the hardcover project. They pledged a lot of money. The pledges were big. Like my average pledge was like $170. And there were like 100 people. So like I don't want to be putting out a Kickstarter every couple months and then putting out books and then having swag on my website and basically just like overwhelm the people who are fans of mine with stuff, because like I won't be able to get everyone's support on a Kickstarter if everything is Kickstarter. I don't want to do that. So the things that I can just foot the bill for and develop as part of my writing business, I'm just going to do that as I can. Like with the regular AUD books, I'm just doing it. And the Diggory books are now part of my process. I don't have to do a Kickstarter for them, but I'll ask again and say, hey, I got the 3rd book coming out. Do you guys want a 3rd Kickstarter? And if enough people say yes, then I will. I'll do it. But I also don't want to have like AUD hardcovers, then Diggory 3 for Kickstarter, and then False Bravado as a Kickstarter, and then I'm helping Anthony with Bad Wabbit, and it's in my best interest for Bad Wabbit to be a successful Kickstarter because I edited the first book, and I want there to be more, right? Because I want to see the rest of the story be released because it's a fun story and the art's gorgeous. And if he gets paid, I get paid as the editor. So, it's in my best interest to see that happen. So there's Diggory, AUD, Wabbit, potentially False Bravado, potentially Rock Jockeys. So that just in 2 years, that's 7 Kickstarters, six I can count. So I don't want to saturate it and have people have to pick and choose, right? It's like, well, if I know you're going to do this one and I'm going to have to, back it for $20 in 2 months, I'm not going to back this one. And then everything kind of starts to suffer. So I want to be pretty judicious with how I do it and make sure that it's worth it because the Kickstarters are a lot of work. And I did the 2 Diggory ones only hoping to raise a couple of grand, which in retrospect, like that's not worth it. Like that's so much work to only raise a couple grand. But when it gets $5,000-$6,000, I think the second one got $8,000. All right, cool. That's like a lot of money. That's a lot of book orders, and that's worth it. That makes the business run. But yeah, the cool thing is though, is if I do a Kickstarter for the comics, and my name is on them, and they get visibility, and it draws people into my writing, then it brings in new people, and could potentially attract the attention of other comic book companies that want me to write or edit or whatever, and that's cool. Like that's awesome. Before I wanted to write books, I wanted to write comics, so it would be cool to have a toehold in that industry. But I'm gonna have to go here pretty soon. The children's are coming back from the library. Wife took them there, and they're going to be storming in the door, yelling and screaming. And this has been fun. So again, Bad Wabbit Kickstarter's coming soon. Swags posters are in. The journals are in. The books are almost ready to go. Pass the test on the nanny thing. Yeah, too many episodes of Law and Order. Nanny Cam. Yeah, we're at the library constantly. Thank God too, because Willow reads like 5 books a week. Like she reads at like a 3rd grade level. She's in 1st grade, and she's just like hammering books. We couldn't afford to feed her book habit. Like nope. Thank you, Hollis Social Library. Anyway, swag is coming in for the Kickstarter. Coins are not here. Almost everything else is. I think everything. I need the bags. The dice bags are coming, and packaging material I'll order once I have everything. That's like next day delivery stuff. Like I can call up Uline and they'll literally just send them the day that I order it because they pre-make all that stuff and just warehouse it. I have all the other stuff. I think Lost and the Found is out. I don't know if you guys have listened to it. It's getting fantastic reviews. I'm so excited about that. Really fun book. I think it's solid start to finish. It does a lot of really cool stuff. I don't think it drags anywhere. It's a good one. I feel like I'm finishing strong. Yay. If you haven't listened to it, Audible is running a sale in June, I think. And I can't see if my stuff is on sale because I already own my books, right? Like I use the credits that I get to download my own books. So I can't see if it's on sale, but many people have told me that my books are on sale for like 50% off this month. And that doesn't cut into my percentage that Audible takes that hit. So if there's any books you want to grab, June apparently is a great time to do it. I can't tell you what's on sale or if it's on sale, but go ahead and look and see if you find anything. And I put up a post earlier today about the very thing that Amazon is raising paperback prices across the board on the 20th. Basically, they're just saying that it's more expensive to print books now, and they are upping author cost without passing it on automatically. Which basically means that like for every book, they're taking that dollar out of the royalty that I would normally get. And I don't sell so many paperbacks that like, I'm in Barnes and Noble, but to lose a buck a book would hurt. Like I would feel that at the end of the month. So I said it was okay to just raise those prices at retail, because I like for one person to pay an extra dollar on a book, the 3 times a year that I release it, that's not a big financial impact. But for me to lose $1 on all of the books that I sell, that would be an enormous financial impact. So sorry. I wish I didn't have to do that, but I can't afford to write books for less money and still write books. So yeah, go ahead and drop it in, Anthony. No problem. Anthony's the writer and creator of the Bad Wabbit thing. He's doing the Kickstarter for it. He's going to drop the link for the follow page, the notification page, in the comments on the Facebook. Some of you are watching on YouTube, I can see. So anyway, so all of my paperbacks are going up by about $1 on the 20th. I don't control how much. I don't know which books are going up how much. They're not really talking about that. But the bigger books are going to go up more than the smaller books. So like the Alone No More, Dark Recollections, Wrath of the Orphans, The Phone, the smaller page count books are probably only going to go up by like 90 cents to $1.25. The bigger page count books, Echoes of Sin, Colony Lost, Midnight, The Trinity, the fat ones, those could go up by like $2, maybe even $3. So if you're looking to get anything in paperback and you want to save that couple of bucks, grab it now. So Megan, no sorry needed. Yep, it sucks. Nikki, will there be any more omnibus audiobooks? Maybe. I get this question probably 3 times a week, and the simple answer is the books 5 through 8 are complicated with rights issues due to James's departure from the series. Some of those books are royalty share, meaning like at the time I couldn't afford to just buy the narration outright because I was literally just starting my career and I didn't have the cash flow. And I can't repackage the ones that are royalty share into a new audiobook omnibus without his permission, and he's not talking to me. And at this point in his and I's professional relationship, I wouldn't want to re-release a new product that he gets royalty share on. I would want to wait until the rights expire for his portion of the narration and then just release it myself. But I have to wait for those contracts to age out, which is just a waiting game. So the long answer is it could happen, but I don't know when. And it would be a fairly complicated process to sort out the rights and then package it and then re-release it and all that jazz. So I wouldn't hold your breath. I wouldn't hold your breath for a second audio omnibus. Will there be any more? Oh, Kinless World. The Elmoran's a great world. It's fantastic. Would love to write more in it, but it did not garner the audience that would allow me to spend that much time being creative in it. So, all right, y'all, I'm going to head out. Thanks for joining me on this lovely Monday afternoon as we close in on an hour. Tag people if you want them to do a live with me, and I'll start setting some stuff up. And if anybody has any questions, just make sure that you shoot me a message or post a comment someplace where I can see it, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, unless I forget, which happens, but I do my best. So talk to you guys later. Bye. Thanks, Ebo. All the best to you too.